Okay, grade 9, your last lesson on revision of grade 8 geometry is about parallel lines. Okay, now before we get into the laws or the rules about parallel lines, just a quick reminder about what they are and how to identify them. So parallel lines, these are, it could be more than 2 lines. Eh? You could have 3 or 4 lines that are all parallel, but generally it's at least 2 lines. Okay, so we're going to actually word it that way, at least 2 lines. Okay, and it is 2 lines or more that run next to each other, and they are equidistant from one another along their entire length. So if you look at the lines on my page, these lines are all parallel to each other, and that if we were to measure the distance from there to there, it'll be equal to the distance from there to there. Okay, so the distance between the lines is the same all the way along their length, and the lines never cross, they never intersect. Okay, so it's at least 2 lines that are equidistant. Equidistant just means that the distance is equal. Okay, so they are equidistant all along their length. So that's basically when I said it doesn't matter where you measure the difference, it's always going to be the same. Okay, so equidistance all along their length. And they never intersect. Intersect just means meet or cross. Okay, they never cross over each other or intersect each other or cut through each other. Okay, so if we were to draw some parallel lines, let's actually just draw over the ones on my page because that's a good example. Okay, so that line, or rather that line segment and that line segment, so this, let's say this is line AB and that's line CD. These 2 lines are parallel. Now, there are symbols that we use to indicate where the lines are parallel. So in the diagram, the way we indicate that they're parallel is using arrows. So remember, if we show lines are equal, we use a little streepie. To show that lines are parallel, we use arrows. Okay, so to say that line is parallel to this line, we've used 1 arrow there, so I'm going to use 1 arrow here. Okay, we could use 2 arrows. I could say this line and this line are parallel, so let's put a second arrow. A, B, and C, D are parallel. Okay, so any number of arrows, as long as it's the same number on each line, shows that they are parallel. So arrows for in your diagram. Now, if in text, in your writing, you want to write that these 2 lines are parallel, you would write the names of the lines. So this is line AB, and this is line CD. And we would show that AB is parallel to CD by using 2 small parallel lines between them. Okay, so AB is parallel to CD. That's what this means. Okay, that's how we indicate parallel lines. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and look at the different laws. Okay, so our first law is about our first law is about corresponding angles. Now I've gone ahead and drawn ourselves a set of parallel lines, that line and that line. Let's label them. Let's call this point A, point B, point C, point D, E, and F. Okay, now can you see here that AE is parallel to BD, and this line FC cuts through both of them, and this line actually has a fancy name. Okay, the line that cuts through your parallel lines, CF, cuts through the parallel lines, and we call it a transversal. Okay, so we've got AE and BD are our parallel lines, and FC or CF is our transversal here. Okay, now when you have parallel lines with a transversal, there are 3 different laws that you could have. Okay, now the first law, corresponding angles, is the one I want to show you. And this one you might remember from last year, your teachers could have said that this is the F one. Okay, you might have learned this as fun, the 3 laws. So this would be your F rule. And that is, sometimes you've got to turn your page, but it's basically saying, let's actually do it like an F. So if I turn my page like this, you guys see that we have, I'm purposefully going to do it backwards so that I can show you that it exists in both ways. So obviously I'm hoping most of you can see this F here. Okay, but there's also an F here, so I'm going to do the backwards one just for fun. Okay, do you see we've got that backwards F there? And the rules about corresponding angles is that they are equal to each other. Now your corresponding angles are the angles that are on the same side of your transversal, so both underneath here and both to the right, or if we're looking at it this way, underneath your parallel lines. So that's this angle here and this angle here. Okay, so that's, let's call them angle A and B. Sorry, I'm using all my stationery here. Okay, so let's call that angle A and that angle B. Okay, and because they are both on the same side, so to the right, okay, or if we were to turn our page underneath, they are equal to each other. So A is equal to B here because they are corresponding, and our reason, with all geometry we need reasons, our reason is corresponding angles equal. And more than that, you also have to state your parallel lines. Okay, with all three of these reasons, you have to state your parallel lines. So in my diagram, my parallel lines are AE, which is parallel to BD. Okay, AE is parallel to BD. That is our reason for this question. And as usual, we have to learn our reasons off by heart. Okay, so again, just in words, corresponding angles are equal to each other. Okay, so if you've got straight lines with a transversal cutting through them, and it forms corresponding angles, that's the F shape, then we have that corresponding angles are equal to each other. Okay, next one. Okay guys, so our next rule is about cointerior angles. So if you learned it the fun way last year, then this will be the U. Okay, so F was corresponding, cointerior is the U shape. Okay, so if we look here, we've got our two parallel lines with our transversal. So here we've got two U shapes. You've got this U shape over here, the upright one, and then you've got an upside down one opposite it. We've got the upside down U shape. Okay, so let's use the upright one for this example. So there's our U shape. The sides of our U have to be the two parallel lines. The bottom of our U has to be our transversal here. Okay, oh, I've forgotten to name the points of my lines. Let's quickly do that. So this was A, B, C, D, E, F. So once again, this line CF is my transversal. Okay, now cointerior angles, these are the two angles that are on the inside of our U shape. Okay, so that's this angle and this angle here. The two angles on the inside of the U shape. So angle A and angle B over there. We can quite clearly see that they are not equal to each other, right? So with corresponding, they're equal. With cointerior, they are not equal. These A and B are supplementary. So you should be realizing now we've got three scenarios where the angles add up to 180. If you've got angles on a straight line, they add up to 180. If you've got the interior angles of a triangle, those also add up to 180. And now if you have co-interior angles, A and B, these also add up to 180 degrees. Okay, and a reason, co-interior angles, and we have to state our parallel lines. AE and BD were our parallel lines here, hey? AE parallel to BD. And again, we need to learn this reason off by heart. Okay, so we learn this reason. Okay, that is, yeah, so that's cointerior angles. Let's quickly write it down in words. So if we have parallel lines with a transversal and it forms cointerior angles, the U shape, then cointerior angles are supplementary. Okay, remember supplementary It's just a fancy way of saying they add up to 180 degrees. Okay. And the last of the grade 8 laws. Okay, it's alternate angles. And again, if last year you learned this using fun, then this is the N shape. Okay, so alternate angles is the N shape. So if we have a look here, we've got, it's like the zigzag. Okay, I'm going to write that here as well. Recognition, the zigzag. It's much more like a zigzag than an N actually, because it can be strange. So it could be this there. That doesn't look like an N at all, but it's a zigzag. Okay. So I'm going to demonstrate it for this one, I'm going to draw your attention to this N shape here. Okay, that zigzag shape there. And for this, it's this is the best way that I remember it, best way that I can think to explain it is we're talking about the angles that are in the armpits of the zigzag. Okay, so that's this angle and this angle. Okay, the angles that are in the armpits. So if we were to call those two angles A and B as well, okay, so let's say this is angle A and that is angle B, then in this scenario, alternate angles, angle A and angle B are equal to each other. And our reason, alternate angles equal. And again, we have to write down our parallel lines. And I've forgotten again to number my lines or name my lines. So that's A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, so my parallel lines are AE, parallel to BD. Okay, and as usual, we need to learn this guy off by heart. Okay, you learn your reasons off by heart. Okay, and in words, alternate angles are equal to each other. Okay, so these are our 3 rules for when we're dealing with parallel lines. Okay, we've got corresponding angles, cointerior angles, and alternate angles. Now, I would suggest you go ahead, now you know all the grade 8 geometry laws, I suggest you go ahead and make a summary of all of them. In addition, I'm about to do an example of some parallel line laws, so if you're not finished writing down these notes, pause me. Okay, guys, here's our example. I know it looks a bit scary. You can pause me and copy it down. So looking at this, we've got lots of X's, we've got lots of parallel lines, we've got a lot going on. Okay, so I'm going to go and just do a little bit of color coding. So I can see this line here, line EF, has 2 arrows on it, and so does this line here, line IJ. So they are parallel, so I'm going to just color code them. They belong together. Okay. Same for line AB and line CD. They both have a single arrow on, so those are parallel. Okay, and also any X's, those cross shapes. Oh, we've got tons of them. Okay, so I'm going to actually go ahead and just very small draw a little X everywhere where I've got the cross shape. So there I've got a cross shape, and there I've got a cross shape. So there's actually 3 cross shapes here. Here I've got a cross shape. There I've got one. There I've got one. And that's everything. Okay. So that's all my vertically opposite angles identified, as well as my parallel lines. Now let's see what they ask. They say we need to determine the value of A to G. Oi, that's a lot. That's 7 angles we've got to find. Okay, so let's get started. A. First off, we need to find the value of A. So where is A? Here is A down here. Okay, so we're looking for the value of A. Okay, so we don't know any of these angles here. What do we know? We know that that's 30, but there's no relationship between this 30 and that A, right? They aren't. Well, they are both being formed by the same set of parallel lines. This 30 has got that pink parallel line as one of its sides, and this A has this pink parallel line, but they don't share the same transversal. Okay, that would be their transversal. But A doesn't share that transversal with 30. So we can't link A to 30. What else do we know? We know that that's 70. Now here, A and the 70 are both being formed by one of the two pink lines, so they might have a parallel relationship, and they're both being formed by the same transversal here. Okay, so it might be a bit easier to see if you turn your page. Okay, so if we've got that, oh, come here, man. Sorry. Okay, so if you look at it like that, okay, here is our F shape. Okay, do you see that? There's our F shape. So that A and that 70 are equal to each other because they are corresponding angles. Okay, so we can say we set up our answer, equation, reason, and then solve if necessary. So A is equal to 70 degrees because I have corresponding, the F shape is corresponding angles equal. My parallel lines were line CD and line AB. So I can say AB parallel to CD. Done for A. So we know A is 70. I like to go ahead and fill in my information. So that's 70 degrees. Next up is B. That's this guy. Okay. This one's nice and easy. We can see it's on a straight line with 70. So we can say B plus 70 degrees must give me 180 because I have angles on a straight line. Okay, hop my 70 over and subtract it means that B must be 110 degrees. Okay, so I've got my first two. Let's highlight what we know. Sorry, I just bought these highlighters, so I know I'm overusing them, but I'm quite excited about them. Okay, so A is 70, B is 110. We've got A and B. Next up, C. We're doing this alphabetically. So here is C. Okay, do you see that C and 30 are in this triangle here? Do you see that triangle? Okay, so we've got this triangle here. Okay, C and 30 and this angle here, which we don't know. Now, we could say that this angle is the same as 70 because they're vertically opposite. Okay, we can also say that this B, which we now know is, 110. This B is the exterior angle of this pink triangle. Okay, because we took this side and we extended it, and B is the angle between the extended side and the adjacent side, this one of the triangle. So B is equal to 30 and C together. Remember, the exterior angle is equal to the sum of the opposite two interior angles. So B, which is 110 degrees, is equal to 30 and C together. Reason, exterior angle of triangle. Okay, so to get C by itself, we can subtract 30 from 110 and we get 80 degrees. We get that C is equal to 80 degrees. So I'm going to fill that in on my diagram. This is 80. Okay, highlight. Next up, we're looking for D, which is over here. Okay, now we know that there's some vertically opposite angles here, but there's no angle there for it to be opposite and equal to. So we're going to skip that. What else have we got? Okay, there's no triangle that D is a part of. So we know we're going to have to use the fact that we've got parallel lines. Now D is being formed by the pink parallel line and the green parallel line. So let's compare it to all the other angles being formed by the pink parallel line. E, we don't know. A doesn't share a transversal. The transversal for A is this line. The transversal for D is that line. Okay, so let's move on. We've looked at all the pink ones. Let's look at all the green ones. So if we look at this green parallel line, what angles are being formed by that green parallel line that also share a transversal? Do you see this 30 and that D are both formed by a green parallel line and also formed by the same transversal? It's an F shape. Okay, if you turn your page, whoop, now I've lost it. Okay, there it is. If you turn your page like this, we have an F shape here. Okay, it's getting a little bit messy, but do you see that F shape? The 30 and the D are corresponding angles. So we can write here that D is equal to 30 degrees because I have corresponding angles equal. And what were my parallel lines? They were the green ones. And the green ones are EF parallel to IJ. Okay, so we've got D. 3 more, E, F, and G. Okay, so we found that D was 30, so I can go and write 30 here. E is next, that's this one here. I'm hoping you guys can immediately see we've got the zigzag. Okay, do you see that zigzag? Okay, D and E are alternates. They're on the zigzag. So we already know that E is also equal to 30 degrees because we've got alternate angles equal. Name our parallel lines, A, B, and E, D. Okay, the two sides of the zigzags are the two pink parallel lines. So that's AB parallel to CD. Okay, 2 more. So we've got that E is 30. Let's chuck a 30 there. F is here. Okay, so looking for F. Yeah, we can finally use vertically opposite angles. Okay, do you see our X shape here? The A and the F are vertically opposite one another. So, and we know that A was 70. We worked that out earlier. So we can say F is also equal to 70 degrees because of vertically opposite angles. Okay. And G, which is down here. Okay. Oh, F first, sorry. Oh, we've just found F. Oh, I didn't fill it in. Okay, F is 70. Okay, so I see a way to do this. I'm just wondering if there's an easier way. Do you guys see if I find this angle here, which is 30, right? That's also going to be 30 because it's vertically opposite. Then I've got that these 3 angles added together must give me 180. But I feel like there is an easier way. Okay, so here is a transversal that has this green parallel line and this green parallel line coming out, and they form 2 corresponding angles. So if you turn our page, it might be easier to see it like that. Okay, we've got an F shape like this. The 80 and the G are corresponding. We've got our F shape there. Oh my, this diagram is turning into a big mess. Okay, so we've got that. G is equal to C, which is 80 degrees. Again, corresponding angles. And our parallel lines here are the 2 arms of the F, which is IJ. Oops, sorry, you can't see that. Which is IJ and EF. Okay, so G equals 80 degrees because IJ is parallel to EF, which forms 2 corresponding angles. Okay, and I did say find the angles A to G, but we've still got one here that we haven't found, H. And I'm hoping there are lots of ways you can find H. You can see here it's vertically opposite that 80. It's also in a zigzag here with G, which we know is also 80. What else? Okay, that's all that I can see at the moment. Yeah, that's all that I can see at the moment. So I'm going to go ahead and say that it's vertically opposite 80. Okay, so H is equal to that 80 degrees for C because it is vertically opposite. Okay, so often, like you've just seen happen, often there are multiple ways in which you can solve the same question. Okay, I always like to go the easy route. For me, the easy route is using vertically opposite angles over using parallel line laws, because parallel lines, you also have to identify the parallel lines. Okay, so that's it for grade 8 geometry revision. there's quite a lot of work that you need to do to make sure that you remember it all. So today you're going to do activity 3, which again is some questions out of your textbook, and then tomorrow activity 4, which is also questions out of your textbook. Obviously, if you want to do them in your textbook, that's fine, that's great, but if you don't have your textbook, you'll have to copy the questions down in your workbook and then do them in your workbook. Okay guys, best of luck.